I would like to ask you about the first thing which probably comes to mind of your Czech fans, and it's that your name Novak. It's very similar, like a common Czech name Novak.
Novakova.
Novakova, yes.
Yes.
Yes. So you have ascendants in from Czech Republic?
My parents on both sides, Czech. Yes.
And have you ever been in Czech Republic before this festival?
I was. I brought my mom and dad here, both in the 60s. So I was here.
I heard that you were in some farm here. Is it right?
Yes. We stayed with family in the farm, and we slept with the pig, which was interesting.
And do you know, or are you curious which city it was where your parents come?
I don't remember where it was, although my sister's been reading something. My family is no longer here, but the only record she has is that there might be someplace Turkey, possibly. So we're going to look there and see if we have any relatives there. I don't know.
So you will come there probably at the time of this festival to see the city?
Yes.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. I would like to ask you how you first became a Hollywood actress.
You know, it was one of these things that fatalistic, because I never intended to become an actress. I was always so shy, and never occurred to me ever to do that. I always wanted to be an artist, and when I was in school, I got a scholarship to become a painter, and that's what I always wanted to be, was a painter. And I started modeling when I was in school, and someone saw me. Well, I started modeling, and I went on a tour modeling for refrigerators. And it went cross country, all the way across. And someone saw me and said, we want to do a screen test. And so while doing this a screen test, they put me under contract. And so from that, I started my first movie. And I never got home again until I was under contract, and I did a first movie, and I became a movie star. Just that fast, really. And so it was a detour. I never got back to painting again until I left Hollywood, and then I got back to painting again.
And when you became actress, and you must, for some time, leave the painting, were you missing the painting in the time of acting?
I still kept painting.
Yes.
I mean, that's what saved me, I think, because it's not easy, you know, being an actress. It's very frustrating. So a lot of my frustrations I took out painting after while I was working, and working out the characters. It really was helpful to draw and to sort of work out what I was doing and painting the characters and working out who they were. And so I did that. I painted the different people, the Madeline, Judy, the characters. I got to know who they were by drawing them, by painting them.
When you mentioned Madeline, I was very curious about Vertigo, which is one of the best movies ever made, and also one of my favorite movies. And I was curious, how was your cooperation with Alfred Hitchcock? How did you cooperate with him?
Well, we got along. I mean, at first it wasn't easy in the sense, only because it was hard to. He had definite ideas of what the character was like, and he wanted me to dress a certain way and all, and I wasn't in accord with certain things. But once I understood that he had definite ideas of what she looked like and what she wore and how he wanted her to look, which wasn't necessarily what I agreed on. But on the other hand, he had definite ideas. And so once I understood that, the thing that I liked about him is he didn't mess with your mind. He allowed you to have your own interpretation. He wanted you to, he allowed you that freedom of the character. But he wanted you to, he was very strict in what he wanted, the way he wanted you to look. But he allowed you the freedom of how you thought. And so once you had that clear, it was okay. And so those were definite, clear boundaries. And so I was allowed to develop the character in the way to how to act it. And yet you were allowed the, I mean, he developed how you looked, where you stood, and how you acted the part. And that made it very, very clear.
And is it true that he don't prefer to discuss motivations of characters?
Yeah, I never did.
Never did?
Never did. And that was frustrating at first. But by the same token, it was good. I liked it. I mean, an actor knew the rules. Those were strict rules for him. And I found him to be an honest, fair person. I liked him.
Great.
I respected him, and he respected you, again, as long as you knew the rules. Those were his rules. That's how you played the game with him.
And how you could describe him as a person, not only as a profession, as a director, but how was he personally, do you think?
He was honorable. I found him honorable. I mean, there were a lot of stories that had floated around about Alfred Hitchcock, but I found him to be an honorable man. He was honorable.
And did you stay in contact after the Vertigo? Or
No.
it was last touch with him?
No.
Yeah. The Vertigo is so iconic. It's absolutely great movie, and it's so famous. If you like the idea that you were in such a famous movie, you like it?
How could I not like it? I mean, well, first of all, working with Jimmy Stewart was the best. He was great. And yes, it was wonderful to work with a great director and a great actor. Yes, I loved it.
You also work with another famous legendary director like Billy Wilder.
Billy Wilder, wonderful director.
Yes.
Again, a movie that was highly controversial at the time. But yes, I mean, he was a great director. And the film, after time, was finally recognized to be a fine movie.
If you compare Alfred Hitchcock directing style and Billy Wilder, what do you think they have a common on, or what they're different in the directing styles, Billy Wilder and Alfred Hitchcock?
Well, totally different, of course. I mean, totally different. But both of them, I suppose what they had in common was the fact that they were totally different.
Do you think that in Madeleine character and in your own personality,
yes,
is there some similarities? Do you feel some similarities with Madeleine?
I like Judy better than Madeleine.
Really?
Well, I did. Just perhaps I identified more with Judy than Madeleine. Madeleine was so strange, not unreal. Judy was more real.
You know, for me, I think one of the strong things in Vertigo is that it's for me also about the very primal need of every person, which is need to be loved as we truly are.
That is true.
Yeah.
That part was true, and that part, you're right, I identified totally, because I, at the time, was under contract to Columbia Pictures, and that part I identified with very strongly with Madeleine, was her need to be loved and accepted. That part I identified with completely, very, very strongly, was her need to. But you see, it was a very complicated role. That was the underbelly of the story that was very real. That was true of not only Madeline and Judy, but it was also true of Polly. Polly, all of the characters probably I've played in all of the roles was the undercurrent in almost all of the roles I've ever played was the hunger to be needed and loved. In almost all the roles that I played was that.
Which is great because I think this is very common for most of the people, this primal need.
And that was very true in the characters, and you're so right about that. Because I'm forgetting about what it was that I portrayed in those characters, and that was very much, and that is what I was bringing out in those characters, and which I think I was good at bringing out in the roles. Was that need, and that was what was coming through in those. You're right. It's a long time since I played those characters, and thank you for reminding me, because that is, and you saw that, and thanks for seeing it.
Yeah, I love this movie.
That is exactly what I was bringing out, because that was the quality. That was the strong point. Thanks for seeing it, and thanks for reminding me.
Thanks for making this great movie.
Thank you.
You know, and in those times when we talk about this parallel between you and the character of Vertigo, in the age of so-called golden Hollywood, is it true that they first try to made you as a something like another Marilyn Monroe? And I would like to ask you if it's true that they want to change you, you know, change the name and change your image.
Yes, they wanted to call me Kit Marlowe and try to make me into a frivolous kind of a character. And of course I didn't want that, and I felt it was essential to keep my name of Novakova.
Yes.
In other words, be real, to be someone. They didn't want me to have a name that had roots, and I felt it was essential to be from a country that had roots.
That's great.
And I had to have roots. Yes,
great.
I insisted on that, very much so.
That's great.
Exactly.
I also read that you have offer for a role in one of the famous unfinished movies, which is Something's Got to Give, which was at first Marilyn Monroe's movie, but she was fired and the movie was never finished. Is it true that they offer you the role of Marilyn Monroe?
Yeah.
And why did you refuse the role then?
Well, because I didn't like it. Yeah.
You didn't like the situation or the movie?
Both.
Both. Did you know Marilyn Monroe personally?
Yes.
Yes. How was she as a person?
Oh, she was a good person. She was a good person.
You, in good way, survive all this burden of the fame, and Marilyn Monroe didn't. What do you think was the strong which helped you to survive?
Roots.
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 Like the Czech name?
Yes.
And family?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. I think that's what she didn't have. She didn't have roots. She didn't have a family. And roots, you know, you've got to have that. You've got to have a sense of family, of belonging, a country.
I would like to ask you about painting, because your latest movie is made in 1991, so it's a long time from your latest movie, and you quit the acting. And I would like to ask you why you quit acting and do painting now.
My last movie just reminded me of the reason why I quit before. I just couldn't take it anymore. I love painting because you can do what you believe in, and you can do what you believe in, and it has. I need to express myself, but I need to express myself in my own way. I can't express what everyone else wants me to express. It's too frustrating. I need to say what I need to say in my way, and life is too short to talk about everybody else's thing that has no meaning. And
so painting for you is a way of expressing your soul.
Yes. Yes. And it's, as I say, life is too short to talk about things that have no meaning. I need to express myself.
When I look on your painting on the internet, and I also know that you will have an exhibition in Prague now during the festival, I have a feeling from your painting that it's very emotional, your painting. Do you consider yourself as an emotional person?
Very.
Yes?
Very.
I read a great interview with you on the internet. The article was Kim Novak Tells All. It was a great interview, I think, a few years ago. And I really like one quote which you said there, that you are a very sensitive person. You said that you are a very sensitive person. And the sensibility also for you have disadvantage, but also the advantage of enjoying the life.
Yes.
Is it still true for you?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, I would like to thank you very much for interview.
Thank you.
It was very nice to meet you, and I would like to invite everybody for your exhibition in the Prague.
Thank you.
Thank you.